We're boondocking just outside of Punta Gorda, Florida at the Deep Creek Water Management Area. Boondocking means we are camping without any hookups whatsoever. We're going to be trying out our new solar panels, and we're using our generator right now because we've been running a lot of fans. It is hot. We've been complaining about the cold. Now, I think it's about 86 degrees and about 86% humidity, and I refuse to complain about the heat, but it is hot, and this is what we've been waiting for. So come along, explore the area with us. I'm Jeff. Kathy's inside, staying in the cool of the shade, and this is Miles and Smiles. We're at Babcock Ranch, where we're going to take an eco tour today. I wonder what we'll see. The highlight of our day here at Babcock Ranch Eco Tours is the eco tour. We're loaded on the bus and ready to go. This is Miss Daisy, who is a Florida tractor cow. Babcock Ranch has actually 4 different ecosystems. Ecosystems in Florida can vary just by an inch or two of elevation, which determines how far above or below the water table you are. So now we're coming into a cypress swamp area. But we've also been in pine lands and areas with saw palmetto palms. Each of those is a different ecosystem based upon inches in difference of elevation.
We're gonna go. This little one didn't go yet. Hurry up. And this one's.
So he only swims with the tail even though the hands and feet are webbed. And he tucks them under him and he uses them as rudders and brakes. Right around his mouth there's a whole bunch of little black dots. And they're all actually pressure receptors. So if he's got his head, they're right at the water line when it's just his head sticking out, and he can tell if something happens to the surface of the water. But he also uses them to hunt underwater.
With these gators being so close together, are they related probably, or they're just not at all territorial?
They're not territorial in Florida. We've got 1.5 million. They move around certain times of the year. As it gets towards May, there's going to be moving around. If these are all males, females are going to have to come and visit them. And they do. I like the little ones because they're very squirmy. No, every alligator we got was squirmy. We got them all last week. His nostrils are right there. Oh, you're not going to behave? Yeah. That's a reflex that they have, but they don't always do it. His throat's going to look like a dead end, though, if you can see in there. He's got a flap on the back of his tongue to close that off.
So one tip if you're going to take the Babcock Ranch tour, sit on the right-hand side of the bus. It is the better side. There's good stuff on both sides, but on the right seemed to be where most of the great pictures were. Unfortunately, I was on the left, but I hope we got enough to give you a good taste of what we saw. So what is Deep Creek Water Management Area? The state of Florida has set aside quite a number of public lands for their water management districts, and each of those districts has wild areas, and many of them have free camping allowed. Some, it's just primitive camping where you could probably fit a tent. Others, they have big wide open spaces where you can fit a full-size motorhome. What none of them have are any hookups of any kind. There's no water, there's no electric, and no sewage. But, and here's the really cool part, none of them charge you anything to stay here. All you need is a reservation to get a permit, and you can get those online. Each water management district has its own website to get the free permits to go camping. There's a lot of free ways to camp when you're RVing. Some of the most commonly known are to camp in Walmart parking lots, or at Cracker Barrels, or at Big Bass Pro Shops, and a number of other businesses that allow you to camp there for free. And then there are some state and national parks that have free camping areas, usually again without any hookups. You can camp for free in one of the camping clubs, such as Boondockers Welcome, where people allow you to stay for free on their property for anywhere from 1 to 5 nights. Usually they're RVers who understand that sometimes you just don't want to spend 40, 50, 70 bucks for a campground when all you need is a place to stay for a night or 2 or maybe 3. And there's another group where we find free camping, and that's the Harvest Hosts. Usually that's limited to 1 night, and it's at a winery or a farm or a museum or a golf course even. Out west, there's a lot of public lands. They're all administered by the Bureau of Land Management, or the BLM. And BLM has many kinds of camping spots. They have dispersed camping, where basically they say, here's this area, it's these 5 acres, 50 acres, 500 acres, however much be, and say you can park anywhere in this space for up to 14 days, absolutely free. Now, most of these are kind of wild or desert areas, so you really need to think ahead to plan for water and power and waste. But for long-term RVers, parking on BLM land out west is just a very, very normal and frequent activity. Our motorhome is 37 feet long and it's 12.5 feet tall. There are a lot of places we can't go. For instance, this is the road into the campground we're staying at now at Deep Creek Preserve. And as you can see, some of these branches are pretty low to the ground. We were able to navigate by kind of working our way around this way and then around that way. But when we came to our campsite, you can see that we couldn't pull in much farther than we actually did. There's a big branch hanging down there, but it was far enough. And in fact, we're actually going to back up a little bit to get our solar panels a little more into the full sun so we can take full advantage of that source of power while we're here. As you can see, this is not remote camping. There are other RVers here with their rigs, ranging from a pop-up tent to what looks like about a 45-foot diesel pusher Class A straight ahead of me there behind the porta potty. Oh, by the way, yes, they do provide a porta potty, but that is it. But the nice thing is that even though we have quite a few RVs around us, everybody kind of parks where you want to park. Instead of everybody being lined up in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, just about 20 feet apart from each other. And so it feels like a little community here. In fact, we've probably had more conversations with the other campers in this tiny little water management area than we've had in the last 5 campgrounds combined. It just seems like the kind of people who park here and camp in this kind of situation are friendlier. Is that possible? Today we are at Punta Gorda in the Military Heritage Museum. This is filled with artifacts, many of which have been donated by local veterans, and they have a virtual reality gallery upstairs, which sounds like it's going to be very interesting to explore. We've got 2 veterans in our group, so I'll be interested to hear what they think of it too. This is a newspaper from Honolulu from about a week before the Pearl Harbor attack, actually warning that the Japanese might strike over the weekend. This flag was removed from a vehicle in September 1944 after the Mont-le-Mar massacre in southern France. The signatures on the flag are by members of the 756th Tank Battalion who were fighting the remnants of the German 19th Army. When POWs were in camps in Germany, they would be sent things like playing cards and Monopoly boards to keep them occupied. But what the Germans did not know was that these boards could be separated into pieces, and inside, if you peeled back the paper, there were escape maps and money and things to help them get away. Likewise, playing cards. If they got damp, you could peel them apart and then put them back together again to make maps that showed escape routes out of Germany. So the museum has different sections for each of the major wars that the United States has been a part of. For instance, after World War II, there's this section about the Korean War.
One of the guys, he kind of made this to kind of reflect what he went through. The Army variants have the exhaust down here, where the Marines have up here, because that way they can river cross. Water will come up over the top, and they keep going, won't stall it out.
So I don't know whether Kathy got any video of this or not, but I just flew this plane all around Punta Gorda, and the good news is, and my instructor here will absolutely verify it in just a second when I point the camera to him.
You landed perfectly.
Perfectly. I landed perfectly.
Watch this guy come back and get a reach out and grab that stick. You got a little bit of a death grip on it. Relax. There you go. Yeah, because what I don't want I'm looking at a muscle over here. It's all torqued. Look at what you're doing here. See, now you got it.
Kathy, what are you seeing?
I just saw a search and rescue and training halo jump out of an airplane with a parachute.
High altitude.
Oh, and Helena's over here. Helena's...
I'm doing the search and rescue right now. I've done the halo jump already.
Yesterday was one of the hardest days of my life. Yesterday we laid to rest a brother in arms. He was just a kid, only 20, from Maryland. He was in B Company. I didn't know him well, but I'd seen him around. He was the first KIA induced for this war, and make no mistake, war it is.